and welcome again to episode 2 of getting to talk to the authors of Rooted to Rise. And today we get to have the final interview with Michelle. And I am just so excited because this is the after where we get to talk about what is it like to be an author with a published book. And her chapter is titled The Cycle Breaker. So we're really going to dive in deep all about the themes, all the things that she shared about that. I picked out 2 parts in her chapter that I would love for her to expand on. But first, hi, Michelle. Welcome. How are you today?
Hi, I am good. I am good. I'm excited. I'm all the things.
Let's start off with how does it feel to be a best time selling author with your very first book?
It still feels very surreal. Um, it's kind of crazy because now people are my they're literally like, she's not just this, she just published a book. She's a published author. And I'm like, yes, yes, I am. So it's kind of crazy because I'm still like having a hard time being like, hi, I'm Michelle, I'm a published author, but people are recognizing it, and it's just I'm still processing it.
Yeah, it's only been like 5, 6 weeks. And in that time, I mean, we hit number 1 for over a week, in less than 12 hours. And then we've been in the top 100 ever since February. So that's been a fun category. We hit personal transformation, which really is taking the book in its entirety and talking about all of our personal transformations, what our stories can do to help others with their personal transformations. And so the fact that we got to land in that category on Amazon was just such a special space. What are you feeling these days about having your chapter, your story, parts of your story, obviously, out there? And have you had any like opportunities come to you through stepping out in faith and bravery and getting your name out there and getting the book out there? Can you share anything about that?
I always have my book with me, and I'm always promoting it, and I have spoke to people like on a kind of like a passerby basis, and they're like, I got your book, I got the digital copy, I read it, or they read the physical copy and they're just like, you made me cry. So kind of like right now, I think everybody as well is processing what I put out there, what I shared. But I think it's going to be exciting, and I can't wait to actually sit down with people and go over those things, because just the other day we were sitting there and we're talking about grief, and how it affects everybody, but it ties everybody together. And then I'm always like, yep, and here's my book.
I love that you're able to enter communities, not just about cannabis. Like cannabis, specifically CBD was like a main focus for this book, but it was the events that led us up to it and how you have so many platforms. And I want to quickly touch on you had the very first book signing for Rooted to Rise, and I had the pleasure of joining you. How did it feel to be surrounded by so much love and support in like those 2 hours? The whole place was filled. How did that make you feel?
It made emotionally, like, you just feel so grateful and blessed, and the support, like, you kind of just sit back. I kind of just sat back, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Like, I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to throw it on and let's see what happens. And all these people showed up, and you're like, dang, thank you. You're supporting me. And what I have to say, whether it's, and there was a lot of people who don't necessarily believe, and that's why we wrote this book, so we can give them some insight. And they're like, I gave your book to my friend that I said I was going to give it to, because their wife had cancer, and so they wanted to read the book. So it felt it felt amazingly like uplifting
Mhm.
to know that you're gonna not only me, but a story in my book is gonna touch someone, and I get to share that with people.
Well, in your last interview, you said if it can only help one person, I know I did it for a reason. And you already know that it's touched more than one person's life. And so it was, it's just so interesting to reflect on what you said. What was it, 4 or 5 months ago to today? And I saw firsthand that your book, the chapter, everything has impacted so many people. So you achieved what you wanted to achieve. So how are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling pretty good. Like right now, I feel a lot of peace, and because I on our first podcast, I felt overwhelmed, and I was doing this and I was doing that, and I'm still doing this and that, but now it's like my story's out there, and I feel peace with it. Like I'm sharing my story. This is what happened to me. This is how I overcame it, and I get to share this with you.
Yeah, I find it interesting, and let me know if you feel this way too. The more we share, it's almost like a release. Like we always know that all those stories are a part of us, but it's a release, unlike just talking about it or like maybe going to therapy about it. Or for me personally, it's always like putting it in a container and then like releasing it, and it doesn't feel as heavy. Are you feeling a little bit of that?
Definitely, especially with Eric's 3-year anniversary coming up in June, so it's like people are it's shocking for them because I can talk about it without falling to pieces. I'm not so numb about it anymore. Now I want to talk about it because now I just met somebody else who went through the same thing, or I met somebody else who's grieving over something else, and not necessarily people who have passed away. They're just grieving. Like we all are it's kind of crazy how interconnected I am between the both,
Hmm.
and how I'm connecting and meeting people to share this with.
Right. So St. Patrick's Day just kind of, came up in my Facebook memories, and remembering reflecting 3 years ago how we all kind of came together and we were just celebrating life together, and seeing that picture with all of us, and just imagining like 3 years later, you were a month out from releasing your story. And that was just such a special space for me to sit in and reflect on just how proud Eric is of you, and knowing, I think he even knew you were going to do something like that. So
Yeah.
it's been such a beautiful, I mean, I know like from all of these months leading up to those anniversaries are always the hardest. And so I would love to dive into your chapter a bit. And just with like a warning for anybody, we're going to be talking about a lot of hard stuff. And, Michelle's chapter is filled with not just one, not just five, but like many, hard things. So I'm just kind of giving a warning out there just in case it triggers anybody. Um, and one of the things, that kind of ties in your title as a cycle breaker are the things that I wanted to pull out and highlight. And one of them was, I did it. I broke the cycle. I left. I was scared for my life and my family, but I was persistent until I found my way out, and I never looked back. This is so powerful, and I would just like to create an invitation for you to share whatever's on your heart about what were you talking about in that space.
Um, my second husband and we were in a domestic violence situation, and you never think that you're going to get caught up in it, but you do. And it was just crazy how messed up someone can mentally make your mind. And make you fear for your life and not know if you're actually going to live and get out of certain situations. But, I didn't let that hold me back to live that. I moved forward and God, brought me through it. And I'm here now telling my story about it.
Yes, ma'am, you are. You are a testimony to so much resilience. And I don't always love using the word resilience because it sounds like you have a choice when you use, when people say that. But I just want to bring up the fact that you are so representative of resilience out of not having a choice. And you are so special to me. Um, Going on into her chapter, she does talk about the passing of her husband Eric. uh there's a part that I want to highlight, but would you feel comfortable sharing a small part of what you've been going through for the last 3 years?
Yeah, it just kind of widow brain's definitely a real thing. And from the moment he passed away, I can only process certain things in my life. I have to process them differently. It's got to be one at a time. I can multitask, but not like I used to, and be able to be like, I can do this, I'm doing this, and then I'm doing this, and I'm doing this. Like, I literally can do this
Mm-hmm.
and then keep up with my house, or my job. It's hard to do extra since he's passed away. And it's crazy because you end up having, since I've released the book, like now I can actually hear, like, I can hear me like crying and remembering the moment and everything that happened. But I can actually talk to people about it and tell them what happened and how he passed away and how it was just one minute he's there and now he's gone. And your partner after 20 years that you build your life with is, they're no longer there. And now you have to learn how to live differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's brought up a lot of remembering that night.
Yeah, exactly. I would love to take a moment to celebrate the fact that you just said that it's so hard for you to multitask the way that you used to, but celebrate the fact that despite even doubt that happened, you were able to get your chapter into this book, into the hands and the hearts of everyone, and despite how hard it was. So would you like to share just a little bit about how hard was it for you to keep going and getting your story out despite all of the other things that were happening?
It felt like it was like obstacle after obstacle. Like anytime I felt like I was climbing up that hill, something tripped me and I had to go. Like I was like, I can't do it. Like I'm not gonna make it. Like I really want to be in this book, and I wanted to quit several times. And I felt like my life was just kind of like in a chaos zone at that time. And I wasn't organized in my thoughts. I wasn't organized in my life. I wasn't organized in the house. And I just felt like I was kind of spiraling. And I, between you and James, you guys made it more comfortable and easy and was like, just, take your time and why don't we do this? You helped me finish creating my story and telling my chapter.
Yeah, and I love how you just had open communication with us. And I think that's so important. And it shows how you shine and how authentic you are in terms of showing up even in the hard and being honest about that. And I love that quality about you because you've always had that the whole time I've known you. I think for like 5 years now. And
Yeah.
I think it's just, it shows others that it can be done even if it's hard, And that's
Yeah.
because it's hard, because it will be hard for everyone. I haven't met a single person where writing and putting a book out there has just been a breeze, right? And the hard is what allows us to find parts of ourself that we know. I mean, if you can go through domestic violence and, losing your husband and all of the things, of course you can do the hard of writing a book. And it's just, it was a beautiful journey. And I'm so grateful that we got to the other side together. And I think that one of the things about your chapter is just, there was no even like finish, because none of these chapters are finished. We're still going, right? And with the title being called The Cycle Breaker, another thing I would love to highlight is how honest you were, so that people know that there's no such thing as perfection, and there's no such thing as an easy way, and there's no such thing as it's always going to be better. And so I would love to highlight that part of your chapter. You talk about, eventually I lost my spark. I stopped taking CBD so I can embrace what I was feeling, and all I did was cry. I cut back on marijuana and hemp and started using alcohol. Yep, here I am, back to an old cycle. It's now hard to stop drinking. I struggle daily, wanting to get drunk to numb my pain. It's not healthy. I am now working my hardest to get myself back in healthy ways. It's time to get back to being mentally and physically good. And I would love to invite you to talk about that, because I know that it's your present situation. And I think that it's important for people to realize that you're not a bad person. You show up for your friends and your family, and that you struggle in ways that so many people don't even know. And that loving you is such an honor, and that we're all human. So, would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. And I felt like that was the next journey and chapter that I will share, I I just see it so much in so many widows. Like I feel like it's what you go to, and we're drowning ourselves, and it's not, and it makes it more dark, and it's hard to move forward when you're stuck in a cycle, and then you're just like, damn, I just came out of all these cycles. Now fuck, sorry. Here I
Oh,
am in another cycle, you know? And and two, where you never thought that you would be stuck in that cycle when you had an alcoholic father and you didn't get along. So to be stuck in this cycle and this journey is it's been hard, and it's really hard, and it's an angry stage of my grief.
mm-hmm.
And I really can't wait to be on the other side of it, but I am still struggling, and yeah, alcohol's an issue.
Yeah. We are all rooting for you. And I feel like, having a platform with your story and people reading that, that's very like, you, in a way, it's asking for support and love and grace. And I know everyone who reads it, we're going to cheer you on to get through, this chapter of your life, because we know that it's going to just be another chapter in another book very, very soon. And I just want you to always know that you're seen and you're heard in all of the ways. And it's life, right? And it's part of being honest with ourselves. And this was a piece that was saying, hey, I need accountability. So everyone who gets to read your chapter, we're all going to be accountability for you. And you're not alone, even though it feels like you're alone and in the dark places and everything. And I just, your chapter was just so amazing for so many people. It's going to touch so many people's lives, because it covers a wide span of just a hard life. And that's just sometimes we just have to admit that, right? And but you're a beautiful light in this world. And I'm so grateful that I get to be a part of that. And I would love to let you just share whatever is on your heart. I know that you've shared a whole bunch from your heart, but is there a message or something you'd like to share to conclude this episode?
Yeah, I mean, we in life just we keep going, like keep it's always there's always going to be something hard in our life that we're going to have to overcome and struggle with. Like keep going and keep dreaming and dream big. Like we're never too old to tell our story or start a business or be a different human being if we don't like the human being that we are. So keep going and yeah.
I love that. What would you tell others if they were interested in either being a part of another, like, right now we're gathering a group for the next can of book is what we're calling it. What advice or words of wisdom would you share with them, or just someone wanting to share a chapter in their book that has nothing to do related to cannabis? What would you tell them?
To do it. Like don't hesitate. Don't feel like don't feel like you have to be like educated to because I think that stops a lot of people. Like they're like, I'm not educated enough to write a story or put anything down on paper, but don't be scared because it's how you perceive it, how you say it, and just tell your story. Tell it how you talk, what you say. Like there's no you guys definitely made it feel like there's no right or wrong way on how you have to tell your story. You have to have this punctuation, just get out there and tell your story and just be brave and tell your story.
I love that you mentioned that because we're all about your voice. I don't ever want to take somebody's voice and make it my own, or the editors make it theirs. What's the point? I can retell what parts of your story I know about, but that's not the impact that it's supposed to be, making in the world. It's your voice, the way you talk, the way your brain processes events. And I think that it's really beautiful. You can read throughout all of the chapters of, where are people in life right now, and where are they finding their voices through writing. So I can't thank you enough. I love spending time with you. You're such a special person to me. And I just want to say thank you for finding your voice, being brave, and continuing to fight all the fights you have going right now. So, with that, thank you everyone for listening. And thank you, Michelle. I appreciate
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. I appreciate you all. See you all
Bye,
soon.
everyone.